Skinner talks about imagining or as seeing something in its absence. Okay. So you're seeing an elephant, but there's no elephant here. Okay. Well, that is doesn't make sense because
proyecto dedicado a la divulgación, formación y terapia psicológica. Consulta nuestros servicios en nuestra web y redes sociales.
What do you think about cognitive theories? Do they always imply dualism?
Well, cognition generally means, complex behavior like thinking, imagining, remembering, all of that, planning. If all we're talking about is those kinds of behaviors, or those kinds of interbehaviors, there's no problem with the concept of cognition or cognitive. But as soon as that becomes related to parts of the organism, like the brain or the mind or something like that, then you got a problem. And that's not useful, in my view.
And how behavior analysis take into account those events like imagine, remember, and what at an interbehaviorist view?
Well, imagining is, Skinner talks about imagining or as seeing something in its absence. Okay. So you're seeing an elephant, but there's no elephant here. Okay. Well, that is doesn't make sense because from an interbehavioral standpoint, you don't just see, you see something, you interact with something. It's not just a response with no stimulus. So it's just kind of, it doesn't make any sense. So it's not very helpful. In terms of remembering, Skinner talks about when you interact with the environment, you're changed as an organism, and it's the changed organism who now responds in new ways under new situations. So you have to take the position that interacting in your environment and behavior being reinforced means that somehow you've got something stored in you that is your memory. Well, I don't buy that. The brain isn't coordinating, integrating organ, but it's not a storehouse of your memories. It doesn't have a mind in there making stuff up and acting in all kinds of ways. It's just an organ. So I don't think radical behaviorists have anything valuable to say about all that. Mm-hmm. And what Cantor has to say, again, what he's talking about is, again, it's the value of differentiating stimuli from their functions. So, a stimulus has multiple functions by virtue of you having interacted with it in many different ways and in the presence of many different settings. So, when you say that one thing reminds you of something, it's because that thing has some of the functions of something else by virtue of it having been in the same location at some time, by virtue of it being similar, or something like that. It's something that's happening right here, right now. It's not something inside of you. It's not something that happened some temporal time ago. It's your current interaction with your environment, in current interaction with substitute stimulation in your environment. So that can explain a lot. It's a very powerful concept. And, you can say, well, everything is that. Well, a lot of things are that in that domain. A lot of things involve that. So I don't know a better way to look at these complicated kinds of activities. Yeah.
Are you developing, writing, researching something now, Linda?
Yeah, actually, my former student, Mitch Freiling, and I just finished a book on interbehaviorism. And it was sort of written as kind of an introduction because a lot of people were interested in interbehaviorism, but they always said, well, where do I start? How do I, where do I read? So we have just finished this book. It's actually going through a process of editing right now, and we're hoping to have it available in a couple of months, in a few months, actually. But we've spent a lot of time doing that. And, I don't know, there's various things out there on various topics. If you sent me some topics you're interested in, I could probably send you some papers that I've written on things from an interbehavioral standpoint.
Right. Coming back to cognitive sciences, do you think that behavior analysis and cognitive science, maybe as a non-dualistic cognitive science, is possible, as different levels of analysis and can benefit each other?
Well, I think behavior science, Skinner's behaviorism, and cognitive science probably have more in common with each other than either of them with interbehaviorism. Because cognitive scientists understand complex behavior by attributing various things to the brain. They're neuroscientists. And Skinner's radical behaviorism also attributes memory and thinking and other things, calls them private events. So if they're all talking just about private events and cognitive issues are just brain things, and it's really material, it's not magical kind of thinking, it's not, the mind or, something like that. If they're all just talking about material stuff, they would probably get along pretty well. But from an interbehavioral standpoint, what does it mean? I mean, what part of the brain are all your memories stored in? You made that up. You made that up. There's no storage of anything in there. It doesn't make you do anything. I mean, in other words, we make up a whole bunch of stuff because we don't understand it. And we say the brain did it, and it's located in the brain, it's stored in the brain thinks, the brain imagines. But from an interbehavioral standpoint, the whole organism acts in every circumstance. The brain doesn't act in and of itself as a controlling variable for the rest of the big old organism flopping around. So the interbehaviorism is not, it's not that the brain is not a complex organ that is involved in every kind of psychological event. It's just not a causal organ from an interbehavioral standpoint. So you don't want to put all the really difficult stuff in the brain thinking that you've explained it when you haven't really explained anything. So.
Right.
Gracias por ver este vídeo, os dejamos por aquí un enlace a nuestra última formación y por aquí algunos vídeos que os pueden resultar de interés. Si estáis buscando ayuda psicológica, también podéis mirar en la descripción del vídeo donde encontraréis nuestra web y podréis solicitar asistencia terapéutica de un profesional confiable y que os ofrecerá ayuda psicológica basada en evidencia científica.